All right. Oh, got people coming in. If you enter, awesome. Oh, cool. Katie, Anna, Kitty. Um, very cool. Admit, 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 admit. All right. Hey, Katie. All right. Hey, everybody. Um, Let me just see if anybody comes in a little later. Um, I'm going to. All right. Can everybody hear me? You're all cool?
Yep, hear you well.
Nice. Awesome. All right. So, um, let me see. Let me get I have a fancy presentation. Look at that. Um, and um, okay, allow. Um, all right. So, if everyone can see that, welcome to the Chattajack group. I'm actually out at the Gorge right now. Uh, the Gorge Downwind champs are going this week, and it's really hot out here, but it's really cool. So and a lot of people talking about Chattajack and other events, and it's just if you ever get a chance to come out to Hood River, Oregon, it's really cool. So highly recommend it. So let's kind of get into it. So Chattajack is 15 weeks away, and basically what we did was we set up a like an itinerary for the next 15 weeks. So this week's going to be kind of like orientation. We're going to do the Zoom, and we're going to get some like Q&A with you guys to find out what will help you succeed in Chattajack. And the idea is that we're all training for this, whether you have coaching or not. Like we all want to get from point A to point B.
You're
And
record. Are you doing time lapse? You're just doing
um,
plain video?
uh, am I doing time lapse? Does it look shaky to you, maybe? I don't know. Can everyone see the Chattajack 15-week screen? Is that what I'm sharing? Okay, cool. I'm not sure who that was, but um, uh, so anyway, the intro this week and our space is just kind of designed for you guys to post, uh, especially this week, the things that you need to get started in this next 15 weeks. So you don't have to have coaching, you don't have to have this, but this is like our place to kind of gather, and then we're going to start giving you the tools you need to get from A to B. Again, like if you're trying to win or trying to win age group or trying to finish, or a lot of us are just trying to get through to the end and get through the cutoff. Just want to prepare everybody because we have a lot of people who've raced and trained with Paddle Monster, um, and there's a lot of like a shared knowledge and tricks, and we've got just dozens.
Nothing. I'm just trying to watch this video and listen to this guy talk.
Okay, how do I muted? All right, cool. Um, and um, um, and I'm John from Paddle Monster. I didn't even introduce myself. If I haven't met you, it's nice to meet you. And so after this week, we're kind of gonna jump right into it. So um, Larry and I've been talking for a couple of weeks about this. Like, how do we just set you guys up for success? And there's a lot of the fitness and skills that are required to succeed. And when we talk about succeed, it's not necessarily like placing or winning, it's more thriving rather than just surviving, because it's a 32-mile race. So it's not like your regular 5K. So a lot of times people train for it like they just want to be able to finish. And with the right preparation, you can actually finish and not want to die. So it's possible. Not every year, depending on whether it snows, sleets, hails, or anything. But the things that we're going to go over are how to establish your endurance, speed, and what that means to you as far as how to set your pace and when to change your pace and what your strategy is, what your thresholds are. And that's kind of like uh, he's going to talk about lactic acid thresholds and the idea of zone training. So basically, you don't want to burn yourself out too early or at any point during the race. You want to have exactly as much energy and reserves as you need at any one time. We're going to address some of the skills of paddling in messy water because Chattajack is just one of those races where whatever the forecast is 2 weeks before, it's the opposite. Like, so it can be really hot, it can be cold, the wind can be in your face, it can be at your back, there can be flow, there cannot be flow. So to be prepared for a variety of conditions and kind of embracing those conditions so that you're not shocked when you get there and it's not what you trained for or expected. Those are types of things that we want to make sure that we're all ready for, especially headwinds and tailwinds, because it seems like that wind funnels through those gorges like pretty hard. The other thing that I think when I first started paddling and when I first did my first Chattajacks, um, drafting wasn't something that I was uh, comfortable doing. It actually made me more tired to draft than to actually paddle. But the more I practiced, the more I realized that if you're working with somebody at the same speed that you're going and how that might work for you, um, the shorter the race becomes because you expend less energy when you're in a draft train than when you're just paddling by yourself. So it gives you the ability to expend less energy over the, and I keep saying 32 miles because I've never done it in under 32 miles. I know they say 31. Uh, Katie, yeah, you all know it's I don't know how I got 31, but anyway, but drafting is something that we have a whole course on it, but we can give you examples and things to practice. Um, Even small things like uh, when you're on a draft train and you can see your speed, let's say you have a speed coach or a Garmin that's visual and you're going, say, 5 miles an hour. When you get to the front of the draft train, you don't need to sprint. You just need to keep that draft train going at whatever speed you were going at or whatever you all agree to. And there's a certain etiquette as far as um, how you communicate who's going to pull and who's going to follow and when you're going to switch. And it works out great because um, when you get used to it, you can really use that to your advantage. Sometimes you can get lost in a race where you don't have a similar craft or that you can draft with. But for the most part, if you're on stand up, if you're on an outrigger, if you're on a surf ski, after the start, you're going to start seeing people that are on light crafts and you'll see people that are around your speed. And that's when you can, we'll get all into that. But I think that next week, just that overview with Larry about all of these skills that you can start to develop and just make sure like your checklist, like you're considering these things. Because going into it without considering these things just makes it harder. Um, so then week 13, really talking about endurance because this is anywhere from I don't even know who has the record on the fastest for Surfski. I believe it's around 3 hours, but then all the way to, I think the cutoff's 8.5 hours, something like that. So there's a wide range of how long you're going to be out there. So your need for endurance, what it is, how we train for it. Larry's going to provide some insight. Uh, there is a lot of experience and success that goes into training for endurance that sometimes isn't what you think. So when you have a race that's 32 miles, sometimes you think you have to train and do a 32 miler a few weeks beforehand, but the way that you do your workouts, it's really all about consistency leading up through these 15 weeks. And that's what builds your endurance, your hour long, your 90-minute paddles. And then you're every, say, 2 weeks, and Larry will go over, and everybody's got a different schedule, but you can have longer ones and whatever you well, for me, emotionally need to do to think, okay, I've got this. Like my longest paddle before Chattajack is somewhere around 23 or 24 miles. Everyone's a little different. Some people think you don't have to go much more than half. Some people need to go 26 to 28. Emotionally, we have some different needs, but physically, knowing when you're going into it from an endurance standpoint that I have respected the distance and I can get to the finish because I'm ready for this, or I've trained for this, or I've prepared for this the best that you can. Um, then week two, we're going to go into speed. And you wouldn't think that that's necessarily a super important thing if you're just trying to get to the finish, but it is really important for a race like Chattajack, especially managing your speed, planning your speed, how we train speed, and then Larry's going to do a video, but he's also going to be uh, highlighting existing videos and posts that we have because for instance, I usually break up the race, and we're going to have another section on this, but strategically, I have different segments of the race that I do different things, and I tend to build into the race. But the start and the speed at the start is one of those critical things where you have so much adrenaline and there are so many people and it's so cool and there's I think freaking bagpipes and stuff. Like it's pretty awesome. Um, but you get caught up in it and sometimes people go out way too hard because they're afraid of losing something or they're just excited. And then sometimes people don't quite get warmed up and go. So there's all sorts of ranges and speed and what that means to each individual paddler that are very different. So we're going to be working on that in week 12 and working that into our workouts. And then week 11 is when we're going to be, there is an actual training program for 10 weeks leading into Chad Jack with Larry. We'll have workouts here, but if you want to, at this point, are like, yeah, actually, I want to dial this in. I know what I'm going to shoot for. He can actually take you aside during this week and work with you individually, whether it's on a 101 or whether you want to keep going. You'll be able to work with Larry. But this is where he really kicks it off with his people and his training. Now, week 9. So this is what we're going to drafting. And I know I talked about that a little bit earlier, but um, why in this race in particular, it's particularly important. Along with different ways to draft, different roles while you're drafting, there is sometimes you'll see a draft train where people are right behind other people. There are other ways to draft from the side and how those work and where you sit, and also the percentage of expenditure of energy that is different from those spots and how far back. You really save a lot of energy when you use a draft train. And I know I don't want to beat this into the ground, but um, being able to practice that and be comfortable with that, you have time to practice that at this point. It's 2 weeks before and you're like, okay, I have to worry about drafting. It's going to be difficult if you've never done it. But for at this point, I think you'll be able to at least find a friend and work on it. I actually work on this with my OC, with my training partner, and we'll work on drafting every once in a while during a workout. We'll take like a long stretch and just switch. We tend to switch on 5 minutes or 10 minutes, depending on the day and the thing. But again, all of those ways you draft, ways you communicate, how that works, and then a Q&A because uh, it's a lot harder sometimes than you think, and a lot of people have questions that are, I think, after drafting for a long time, even Larry, we forget. Like, I remember being so tired and trying to draft people. It just exhausted me, so I gave up on it. And then when I learned how to do it, when I went to one of our paddling camps, all of a sudden it made sense. And like if you are leading, for instance, and you have 3 people drafting, when you pull aside and have everyone go forward before you pull in, that's when you can take a drink, you can take a snack, and then you hop back on. And if they go ahead and lose you, you can give a yell. And if you fall off, they can kind of slow down till you get back up. So you learn how to communicate with the group. So anyway, that's going to be week 9. It's actually it's really a cool drafting. It's a really cool week, and something that you can apply with anything. I have drafted prone um, in a few races, long races, but from the side. That's a little bit different, but all the crafts, there's a pretty standard kind of theories about it. We've got some really cool visuals too. Now week 8, fueling. This is going to be, this is like the big thing with Chattajack for me. Along with preparation, is knowing when to eat, how much to eat, when to drink, how much to drink, and the things that my body likes. So people will use different ways to get their nutrition over a period of time. And if we just take a unit of 5 hours, and you have 5 hours that you're going to be expending energy, depending on your weight, your age, you're going to have a certain amount of calories that you're expected to burn. I think one year I burned 3,600 calories or something crazy. But basically, I knew I needed to replace a certain amount of calories every 45 minutes to be able to be comfortable and have the fuel that I needed to get across the finish line. So some people like to do nutrition in their hydration. So you have like Scratch Labs is a electrolyte kind of mix, an energy mix, but it's not necessarily a calorie mix. Whereas Tailwind has, there are all sorts of different brands where you can do. I actually do better with Whole Foods, where I actually make my snacks. I mean, I'm an OC, so I could just open up my box and grab a thing. So I use uh, a, a fueling method from a book called uh, uh, trainings training portables, zone training portables. I'm saying that wrong, but anyway, I'll share some recipes with you that I make and that are fantastic. Like we make these French toast bites. Sometimes you like sweet things, sometimes you like savory things, but anyway. And most importantly, we're going to have someone who actually knows what the hell they're talking about, which is going to be Victoria. Victoria's a PhD in human performance and nutrition. So calculators for figuring out how much you need to fuel. And again, you could do one-on-ones or work with her before to make sure that you're really dialed in. But as a general week 8, we're going to be going into that and also kind of sharing what works for us, because when you get to Chattajack, you don't want to be trying new things, and not everybody's stomachs react to things the same way. So you want to start training with these things ahead of time. So 2 months ahead of time, you can still experiment and you can still try things and find out what works for you. So this is going to be a really big and important race, and we'll have Zooms with Victoria. We're going to have her on some earlier races too, so you can talk about some stuff, and she's going to be doing some videos as well. So and then week 7, mental performance and distance racing. This is huge. So this is going to be Kirsty McMillan, and she's fantastic. The mental side of racing Chattajack is something that we all joke about. Um, uh, my ugly cry mile is 23. There's this stupid boathouse, and I see every time I get there, I want to ugly cry because it's just like where I bonk. So it turns out that that's where my nutrition tends to fall. So I bring a treat for mile 23 so that I've turned that stupid red boathouse into like where I get my cookie. It's stupid. I get the little honey waffles I like for that spot. But anyway, the being able to handle the pressure of logistics of the start of the of how to deal with when you hit the wall. All of those things are things that we're going to talk about during this time. And Kirsty's fantastic, but these race hurdles and strategies, uh, we may break them up into a couple of weeks because um, uh, there's just a lot that goes into it. like when you hit the wall, I had somebody, mental performance coaching that helped me. Um, that's actually when you hit that for me, it means I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Like I expect it. I know it's at 23. Um, and uh, it means that I'm in the right place. So a lot of these things, she will help us prepare mentally for those things that are going to be coming, that are going to be hard for us. So she's fantastic. Now, week 6 gets a little bit technical, but super important. Lactic acid management. Just kind of like understanding that, like when you do intervals, when you're racing, that you have to keep it within certain levels. So we're going to be talking about changing gears within the race, like a distance pace, when you sprint, how you do that without getting into trouble, where you basically, like where you reach your lactic acid at threshold and start to burn out, and then you lose all your energy. So it's how to approach that limit, how to define that limit, and then how to use it. People train in different ways. I train with Travis a lot, and he teaches us to sprint till we get almost to that, know where it is, and then back down until we've rested. And then as soon as we're back down to our zone 3, we go back up to zone 4. But he's got this kind of back and forth thing that once you understand lactic acid management and how to do that, and where your levels are and what that means for you as a racer or a paddler, it becomes really valuable, especially when you go from just having a one walking pace as far as you can go to, all right, I'm going to be, as soon as I get to this point, this is going to be a downwind section. I'm really going to hit it, and it's going to be high heart rate. And then when I make the turn, I'm going to be well, with Chattajack, there's no turn, there's no, but anyway, this is going to be a really kind of interesting and more in-depth into the sports science side of it all. And then week 5, at this point, we've talked about a lot of different things. So this is all just putting it together. It's like messy water, headwinds, tailwinds, whether you're alone or whether you found a draft train, all of the course landmarks and what to look for visually. Chattajack is a weird, I'm sorry, not weird. It is a unique course in that when the wind gusts, I've hit a corner and all of a sudden everyone starts to fall. And what happens is the wind has picked up and knocked all the people off their boards, and you don't realize you get to the corner and there's that gust of wind. So there are visual cues to the weather that you are seeing as it's developing. And also when you see waves, it's just texture where the wind is going in the opposite direction or faster than the current. So there's a lot of visual cues, and also again those landmarks along the course. They're super helpful because if you've ever driven somewhere for the first time, and it always takes a long time, but then when you come home, it's easy because you've seen all the landmarks. I think knowing what you're looking at and knowing what to look for helps you get through this, because it's not just some amorphous giant long race. It's I'm going to this turn, and then when I make that turn, I'm going to see this, and at the end, I'm going to see the power station, which is the finish, but you never get close to it, and then all of a sudden you're past it. It's like the it's it's brutal, but you'll love it, but it's brutal. Um, all right, week 4, the alternative stroke strategy to avoid fatigue. Now, this gets into that. It gets into gears. It just gives you a few extra like tools in your toolbox to be able to know when you need to go hard, know how to make your paddle feel lighter, or your hands if you're proning, like just kind of like being able to move things around so that maybe at certain points during the race, you might notice that your let's just say that your triceps and the backs of your shoulders hurt, and then you realize, okay, I'm not rotating, or your lower back hurts, and you realize, okay, I'm actually not using my legs, or anyway. But those alternative strokes are going to give you some other again, tools to use as you race along this. Week 3, we're getting close, and gear, travel, and logistics. Right now we are talking, if anybody needs a place to stay, if you need a board, if you need a paddle. I don't think I've ever been Chattajack and didn't have someone else's board on my car, driving out to someone or bringing a paddle back for somebody. So if you don't have a place to stay, we can start helping each other find places. If you don't have boards, this is a good time. And then when week 3 comes around, and you're needing things or you're wondering what to bring, what type of hydration packs, or if you have to change your travel plans, any kind of logistics, along with the week of where we're going to meet, what we're going to do beforehand, all of those things are going to be super good at that week 3. It'll give you enough time to kind of plan. I don't think this is one of those how hard could it be, here, hold my beer, drink races. It's not something I'm sure there are people that could just say, oh, why not, I'll just go do that. But at this point, you really kind of have to start dialing in how that race week's going to go and what you need. So we'll be working on that. And then when we get to week 2, tapering, like, how do you mentally, physically accept that you've done the work you need to do, and you need to start resting so that you have enough energy for this race? So what do those last paddles look like? How do you schedule them? How long are they? What do you need to do so that you feel ready to go? So that when you get in the car or on the plane or whatever it is to go to Chattanooga, you are fully prepared and rested and hydrated and have enough food to crush this. And then race week. What to expect from race week, what's going on, registration, how that works, pre-race, like, do you paddle on the river? How do you warm up? What do you do on race morning? We practice at during that tapering. You're going to want to practice, have a dry run, not a 32-mile dry run, but I'm going to wake up for the race. I'm going to eat this. I'm going to do my hydration pack. This is how I'm going to get, this is how I'm going to rig my outrigger. This is how I'm going to have my board set up. But you go through that as a dry run. And I'm sorry, I'm in there's chickens and goats here. So sorry, that's what's going on in my background. We're in an Airbnb. It's pretty cool, but the chickens waking up. And then, we're going to just go through, yeah, sorry, goats. We're going to go through all that stuff in race week, and we're going to meet, and we're going to have a tent. So if there are any last minute things that you forgot, or you're unsure about, there's going to be so many of us there to be able to help. So from PFDs to like little things like leash strings and CO2 cartridges if you don't have one in your PFD, and all those little things that sometimes you forget. So and so that's going to be our next 15 weeks. And each week we're going to have some interviews we've got Tim's got the current outrigger, sup record. So Tim O is going to come on. We're going to have we're just going to have a bunch of people that have been through this race a bunch of times and have been successful. Steve Dulac. I'm sure we're going to have Victoria. Larry's won it a bunch of times. But then we're going to have, not that Larry and Tim aren't real people, but they're also, I'm not setting any records, but I'm going to finish, and I'm going to finish in an OC2 with my daughter this year, and I'm planning the heck out of it because I want it to be as fun as possible. So this 15 weeks, we're going to have people on here to talk about what we do. And when I'm on here, I'm going to talk about the food that we prepare, because we set a timer. So every 10 minutes we know to take a sip, and every 45 minutes we eat, and we have exactly what we need to eat with us. And we have, and that works for us. I'm going to have Steve Dulac talk about his nutrition, because he does all liquid nutrition, and he just finished a 100-mile Missouri race, and he's doing the 300-mile Missouri race, and like really long distances. So he understands those things. So, um, but anyway, we're going to it's going to be a really good 15 weeks. I mean, and I want you to feel free to post in that Chattajack area any questions you have. If you have gear that you need, or a place to stay, or questions about anything. If I don't know, I'm going to find someone. I'm always 1 degree away from whatever answer you need for this. And Ben and Kim, who run the race, are just phenomenal. They're paddlers. They care. They love this stuff. So if it's something with the race that we don't know, we can reach out to them, and they're really good about getting back to us and they're just really nice about it. So anyway, I'm gonna open it up to a little Q&A, and I know that was a lot to kind of absorb. I'm gonna post this video and also the presentation with some notes for you about what's gonna happen, and then we're gonna have posts over the next 15 weeks, and I think what we're gonna do is alternate Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday nights around this time, because it seems like some people can make one of those days, but all those 7 o'clock Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, seems like one of them will work for, and we'll have some follow-up, but uh if there's anything you really want us to cover, um you can either shoot me a note or tell me right here. If anybody has a question, raise your hand or make me into a potato or whatever you could do on this. Anybody? No questions. All right. I got to tell you, I haven't been this excited for Chattajack in a long time. So, yeah, I'm just really looking forward to it. It's going to be the best year ever. And I honestly mean that. I hope. It would suck if it wasn't, but so anyway, thanks for getting on the Zoom. Again, I'll post this tonight, and then I'll post some notes. Uh, and again, I know I mentioned Larry and the other people. Zero expectation or pressure about coaching or asking questions at all. Paddle Monster, we've changed. I really want this to be a community where we support each other with our training, um, help each other with getting boards, buying and selling our used stuff with people that know what they're buying and selling, and also just loaning. I mean, I'm only out here because a friend of mine's loaning me an OC for the week, which is the nicest thing ever. And a guy that I got a ride to a race with, got the Airbnb and invited me. So, you know, that's how I hope this grows in that way. So, um, as always, shoot me a chat if you have any other questions, or if you need anything. I'm trying to fix and build the app and the platform as we go, but it looks like it's coming along pretty good, and I think this is going to be a really good training group. So thanks everybody for tuning in. That's like a 20th century phrase, but and I hope to see you at the next Zoom, and everybody have a good night.